Dave, just wondering what you've sensed from the group the last few days. I know when you have that many days between games, sometimes coaches get nervous about how sharp you'll be, but what have you seen?
Well, I like their practices the last 2 days, yesterday especially, so hopefully that's a sign that there's no rust from the layoff, but time will tell tonight.
Dave, yesterday obviously is a lot of big news in the National Hockey League, and your thoughts maybe on what happened in Chicago, and as somebody who's in a leadership role, kind of how do you ensure that that doesn't happen under your watch?
Well, I don't have much comment on it. I've got some personal relationships there, so I don't want to comment too much about it until, it was an unfortunate incident 10 years ago that I'm sure if you go back, you do things different. Simple as that.
You put in some work at the end of practice on faceoffs. Your team's been really good at winning faceoffs. Vegas did score 2 directly off the draw, one kind of on a broken play. Was there anything you saw off those faceoffs that resulted in goals that you didn't like?
One was a deflection that, just happens sometimes. One was just a little bit of a misread in a coverage, but there was both cases where there was a loose puck that we probably could have found if we had a little extra oomph in there, and we didn't find it. So that was the gist of that today.
Dave, you always talk that you're more interested in how your own team is, but when you don't play a team for a couple of years, are you a little more cognizant of watching tape and that sort of thing about the Philadelphia Flyers? You would never play them. Well,
that's part of your preparation in a way. Like, you don't think much about Philly until they get here, and then you do your preparation before the game, and it's there's two sides of the preparation. There's the personnel, and there's the tactics. So you get yourself up to speed. I agree with you. You don't know what, there's players' names there that you haven't seen for a couple of years, but that being said, you do your homework here for a couple of days and you can get up to speed.
What do you see from them?
I think they're a good team.
One more. But your power play, Leon was talking about bearing down on the power play, taking the face-offs. Doesn't want the puck going down the end of the ice for another 30 seconds. Do you see that? He wins an inordinate amount of face-offs on the power play.
Well, it's that. He does a good job on it. We recover loose pucks on it, and any power play, I tell you that. Why would you want to go down and break out when you can have the puck right in the zone? So to put a little extra in that face-off to win it and find that loose puck, it just helps the percentage of your power play to getting offensive time and getting chances.
Thank you.
Dave, you've played McDavid and Draisaitl together some this year. You've played them apart a little bit this year. Do you notice a difference in their games so far this year when they're together or apart?
Well, when they're together, they look for each other a lot. I know that. They read off each other. They play off each other. When they're apart, they take a little more responsibility for driving their own line. So, but they still get to play together between power play and a few shifts here and there. They're still. It's not as if they're, long lost partners and show up. They still get a few runs a game at being together.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. No, sorry. People look at the talent you have up front, and then they say, well, of course they have a good power play. It's going to happen by itself. But obviously, there's how much of what you guys are able to do with the man advantage is the result of just hard work, working at it.
Well, that's the prerequisite. I'm a big believer in your power play. The players you have dictate the success of it. But that being said, there has to be there's a plan in place, and there's a work ethic that has to be in place. Coming from an old penalty killer, there was many years you go by where the penalty killer's job was almost to go out and outwork the power play to take away the advantage. Now, good power plays don't allow that to happen. They outwork the PK, and if you look at our penalty kill, we spend so much time in the offensive zone, partly because our breakouts are pretty successful, but we recover a lot of loose pucks in there, and that's the work ethic to go along with the skill that any power play. That's what you have to be successful.